The eviction notice felt like sandpaper against Ariel Sutton's trembling fingers. 21 days. That's all she had before everything she'd worked for would be gone. She sat on the worn carpet of her studio apartment, surrounded by unpaid bills that seemed to multiply like weeds. Electric company, final notice. Phone bill, overdue. Student loans, collections. Medical bills from her mother's treatment last year. Overwhelming. Her phone buzzed again. Another creditor. She didn't answer. At 29 years old, Ariel had 3 jobs and still couldn't make ends meet. Morning shift at the coffee shop, afternoon hours coordinating events for a small firm, and evening gigs designing party layouts for anyone who would hire her. She was good at what she did. Talented even. But talent didn't pay bills when you were starting from nothing. The rain started as she drove to her afternoon appointment, a consultation with a bride who wanted an elaborate garden wedding. Ariel had prepared a beautiful presentation, spent hours on mock-ups and design boards. This could be her breakthrough. A high-profile client who might recommend her to others. Then her 2008 Honda Civic made a sound like a dying animal and rolled to a stop on the shoulder of the highway. No. Ariel gripped the steering wheel, willing the car to start. It refused. Rain pounded the windshield, turning the world into a blur. She tried the ignition again. Nothing. Not even a click. She grabbed her phone to call a tow truck, but the screen showed only 5% battery. She'd forgotten to charge it last night, too exhausted after her evening shift ended at midnight. The bride's number was in her phone. She had to call, had to explain, had to try to reschedule. But before she could dial, her phone buzzed with an incoming email. The subject line made her pause. Exclusive opportunity, $35,000 for 3 days. Spam probably. Some scam trying to take advantage of desperate people like her. But desperation made her click it anyway. Miss Sutton, my name is Gideon Blackwell. I am the CEO of Blackwell Industries, and I have a business proposition for you. I need someone to accompany me to a family wedding in Napa Valley this coming weekend. The arrangement would require 3 days of your time, Friday through Sunday. In exchange, I am prepared to offer $35,000, paid in full upon completion. If you are interested, please call me at the number below. This is a legitimate offer. I understand this is unconventional, but I assure you this is a professional arrangement. Time is of the essence. Regards, Gideon Blackwell. Ariel read it twice, then 3 times. $35,000. That would cover her rent for a year. Pay off her credit cards. Fix her car. Maybe even invest in her business properly. It seemed impossible. Too good to be true. But what did she have to lose by calling? Her phone died before she could decide. She sat there in her broken car, rain drumming on the roof, and laughed. It was either laugh or cry, and she'd done enough crying. The universe had a twisted sense of humor. An opportunity that could save her life, and her phone was dead. A knock on her window made her jump. A police officer stood in the rain, gesturing for her to roll down the window. She did. You okay, ma'am? Car broke down, Ariel said. I was just about to call for help, but my phone died. The officer nodded sympathetically. I can call a tow for you. Anywhere you need to get to? Actually, Ariel said, making a decision that felt both reckless and necessary, could you help me make a phone call? It's important. Really important. 20 minutes later, using the officer's phone, Ariel listened to the ringtone and wondered if she was making the biggest mistake of her life. Blackwell. The voice was deep, professional, commanding. Hi, this is Ariel Sutton. I just received your email about the wedding arrangement. There was a pause. Miss Sutton. Thank you for calling. Are you interested in discussing the details? Yes, Ariel said, not letting herself hesitate. Yes, I am. Can you meet me tomorrow morning? 9 o'clock, my office downtown? I'll be there. Excellent. I'll have my assistant send you the address. Miss Sutton, I should mention that this arrangement requires discretion and professionalism. You would be portraying my girlfriend for the weekend. Nothing physical is required beyond what would be expected of a couple in public. Holding hands, perhaps an arm around the shoulder. Can you handle that? Ariel thought about the eviction notice. The bills. The broken car. The life she was barely holding together. Yes, she said. I can handle that. Good. I'll see you tomorrow at 9. The line went dead. The officer helped her arrange a tow to a nearby mechanic, even drove her home afterward. When she finally climbed the stairs to her apartment, the eviction notice was still on the floor where she dropped it. But now, for the first time in months, Ariel felt something that had been absent from her life for far too long. Hope. She didn't know who Gideon Blackwell was or why he needed a fake girlfriend. She didn't know if this was crazy or brilliant. But she knew she was going to that meeting. She knew she was going to say yes to whatever he asked. Because sometimes when you're drowning, you don't question the hand that reaches down to pull you out. You just grab it and hold on. Have you ever been so desperate that you'd agree to something completely out of character just to survive? What would you do if offered a life-changing amount of money for just 3 days of pretending? Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to see how Ariel's decision changes everything. The Blackwell Industries building towered 40 stories above the city, all glass and steel and money. Ariel stood on the sidewalk staring up at it, feeling very small. She'd borrowed a professional dress from her roommate Claire, a navy blue sheath that was a bit tight but looked respectable. Her resume portfolio was tucked under her arm, even though she wasn't interviewing for a job. She wanted to look like someone who belonged here. The lobby was all marble and modern art. Ariel gave her name to the receptionist, a polished woman who smiled professionally and directed her to the elevator. 40th floor. Executive level. Her stomach churned as the elevator climbed. What was she doing? She Googled Gideon Blackwell last night, after charging her phone. The man was worth over $200 million. He owned a tech company that developed software for major corporations. He was 38, never married, rarely photographed at social events. The few pictures she found showed a tall man with dark hair and sharp features, always in expensive suits, never smiling. What could a man like that possibly need from someone like her? The elevator doors opened to a reception area that looked like something from a magazine. Another assistant, this one male and equally polished, greeted her. "Miss Sutton? Right this way. Mr. Blackwell is expecting you." They walked down a hallway with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. At the end, the assistant opened a door to an office that was bigger than Ariel's entire apartment. Gideon Blackwell stood behind a massive desk, looking at something on his computer screen. He glanced up as she entered and Ariel's breath caught. The photos hadn't done him justice. He was handsome in a sharp, intense way. Dark hair, gray eyes that seemed to see right through her, strong jaw, broad shoulders. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her car. But it was the way he carried himself that struck her. Like someone who had never questioned his place in the world. "Miss Sutton." He came around the desk, extending his hand. "Thank you for coming." His handshake was firm, professional. Up close, she noticed fine lines around his eyes, a small scar on his chin. He was human, not just a photograph. "Please sit." He gestured to a leather chair across from his desk. Ariel sat, trying to look more confident than she felt. Gideon returned to his chair, folding his hands on the desk. "I appreciate your discretion in coming here," he began. "I'm sure you have questions." "A few," Ariel admitted. "Starting with why you need to hire someone for this." Gideon's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "Direct. I appreciate that. The simple answer is that my sister is getting married this weekend. My family has certain expectations about my personal life that I have not met. They believe I work too much, that I'm closed off, that I need to settle down. My Aunt Patricia, who helped raise us, has been particularly insistent." "So you want to bring a fake girlfriend to prove you're capable of a relationship?" "Essentially, yes." He pulled a folder from his desk drawer and slid it across to her. "This is a standard non-disclosure agreement. If you agree to this arrangement, you cannot discuss it with anyone during or after. The contract inside outlines the terms. 3 days, Friday through Sunday. We leave Friday morning, return Sunday evening. You will stay in the guest house on the estate where the wedding is being held. Separate from my room." Ariel opened the folder. The numbers swam before her eyes. $35,000. Payment upon completion. Non-disclosure clause. Expectations of behavior. "Why me?" she asked, looking up. "You could hire an actress, a model. Someone who does this professionally." "I don't want someone who does this professionally," Gideon said. "I want someone real. Your background is in event coordination and design. You'll have genuine things to discuss with my sister and the wedding party. You won't be performing. Just being yourself, in a context that happens to include being my girlfriend." "But I'm not an actress. What if I'm not convincing?" "You'll be convincing because you're not acting." Gideon leaned forward slightly. "Miss Sutton, I've been looking for the right person for this for 3 weeks. I've interviewed 10 other candidates. They were all wrong. Too polished, too performative. My family would see through it immediately. But you're genuine. Kind. The way you interact with people, I've seen it. I had someone observe you at the coffee shop where you work. The way you remember regular customers' orders, ask about their lives. That's what I need. Someone who can make my family believe that I've finally met someone worth my time. Ariel should have been disturbed that he'd had her observed. But instead she felt oddly flattered. And desperately aware of how much she needed this money. What exactly would I need to do, she asked. Attend the wedding events. Rehearsal dinner Friday night, wedding ceremony Saturday afternoon, reception Saturday evening, farewell brunch Sunday morning. Be friendly with my family. Hold my hand occasionally. Maybe let me put my arm around you. Nothing beyond what you'd see from any couple at a wedding. Can you do that? Ariel thought about her eviction notice. Her broken car. Her dreams of starting her own event planning company. 3 days. That's all this was. 3 days of pretending and her life could change. Yes, she said. I can do that. You're sure? Because once we arrive, there's no backing out. It would be worse to leave mid-weekend than to not show up at all. I understand. I'm sure. Gideon's expression softened slightly. Not quite a smile but close. Good. I'll need you to sign the NDA and contract today. Then we'll need to spend some time establishing our backstory. How we met, how long we've been together, details that my family might ask about. Can you clear your schedule for tomorrow afternoon? We should meet somewhere casual, practice being comfortable with each other. Yes, I can do that. Excellent. He pulled out a checkbook which surprised her. In this digital age, she hadn't expected an actual check. He wrote quickly, tore it off and slid it across the desk. This is $5,000. Consider it a signing bonus and advance for any expenses you might incur preparing for the weekend. Clothing, anything you need. Ariel stared at the check. $5,000. Just like that. Take it, Gideon said gently. This is a business arrangement, Miss Sutton. I'm not doing you a favor. You're providing a service I need. There's no charity here. She picked up the check with shaking hands. Thank you. Don't thank me. You're earning it. He stood and she did too. My assistant will have everything you need to sign ready by the time you leave. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock, there's a cafe on Market Street called the Roasted Bean. Meet me there. Or something casual. We'll have coffee like a normal couple. Okay. They shook hands again. This time, his grip lingered for just a moment longer than necessary. Miss Sutton? Ariel. One more thing. Yes. My family is important to me. Especially my sister Rachel. She's been worried about me, thinking I'm lonely. This weekend, when she gets married, I want her to be happy. To feel like she doesn't have to worry about leaving me alone. Can you help me give her that? The vulnerability in his voice surprised her. This wasn't just about fooling his family. This was about love. About protecting someone he cared about from worry. Yes, Ariel said softly. I can help you give her that. Gideon nodded, his professional mask sliding back into place. Then I'll see you tomorrow. Ariel left the office in a daze. She signed the papers, barely reading them. The assistant gave her a folder with information about the wedding, the location, the family members she'd meet. She walked to the elevator, rode down 40 floors, and emerged onto the street clutching a check that would change her life. She went straight to the bank and deposited it, half convinced it would bounce. It didn't. The money showed as pending in her account. That night, lying in bed, Ariel wondered what she'd gotten herself into. But then she thought about Gideon's voice when he talked about his sister. The way he'd said her name. Rachel. Like she was the most important person in his world. Whatever happened this weekend, Ariel was going to make sure Rachel Blackwell had the perfect wedding. And if that meant pretending to be in love with her brother, well, she'd done harder things. At least she hoped she had. The Roasted Bean was crowded when Ariel arrived. Students on laptops competing for tables with business people grabbing afternoon coffee. She spotted Gideon immediately. He sat in a corner booth, dressed differently than she'd seen him before. Dark jeans, a green button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, no tie. He looked younger, more approachable. Almost normal. Right on time, he said as she slid into the seat across from him. I ordered you a latte. I hope that's all right. Perfect, actually. How did you know? You work at a coffee shop. I made an educated guess. He smiled, and the expression transformed his face completely. We should probably start getting comfortable with small talk. Tell me something real about yourself. Something that's not in the background check I had done. You had a background check done on me? Standard procedure. Nothing invasive. Just wanted to make sure you were who you said you were. No criminal record, no history of fraud, that sort of thing. Ariel should have been bothered by that, but instead she found it oddly reassuring. He was thorough. Professional. Something real. Okay. I'm terrified of birds. Not just a little afraid. Actually, genuinely terrified. A pigeon once flew at my head when I was 7 and I've never recovered. Gideon laughed. It was a good sound, warm and genuine. Birds? That's specific. Good to know. I'll keep you away from any aggressive pigeons this weekend. Your turn. Tell me something real. His smile faded slightly, but not in a bad way. More thoughtful. I raised my sister from the time she was 12 and I was 21. Our parents died in a car accident. My Aunt Patricia helped, but Rachel was my responsibility. I put my life on hold, made sure she had everything she needed. College, support, guidance. She's getting married now and I keep thinking about how I'm supposed to let go. How to stop being her guardian and just be her brother. The raw honesty in his voice caught Ariel off guard. That must be hard. It is. But she's happy. Thomas is a good man. He'll take care of her. I just need to trust that. He took a sip of his coffee. Now let's build our story. We need to be believable. How about this? We met 6 months ago at a charity gala. You were coordinating the event I was attending. We started talking about the logistics of event planning, and I was impressed by your knowledge and passion. I asked you to dinner. We've been seeing each other since then. 6 months is pretty serious. Your family will expect us to be comfortable together. Exactly. Which is why we need to practice. He reached across the table and took her hand. His palm was warm, his grip gentle but sure. See? Not terrible, right? Ariel's heart did a small flip. His hand felt nice. Too nice. Not terrible. Good. Because we'll be doing a lot of this. My Aunt Patricia is observant. She'll notice if we seem awkward or uncomfortable. We need to look like people who care about each other. They spent the next hour crafting their relationship story. Where they'd gone on dates. What movies they'd seen together. How he'd impressed her with his knowledge of art. How she'd made him laugh with stories from her event coordination disasters. They built something that felt real even though it wasn't. You're good at this, Gideon observed. Creating narratives. It's what I do. Every event tells a story. You just have to figure out what story you want to tell. And what story are we telling this weekend? Ariel considered. 2 people who found each other despite being from different worlds. Who balance each other out. You bring stability, I bring warmth. Together, you're better than you are apart. Something flickered across Gideon's face. I like that. The conversation shifted naturally to other topics. Books they'd read, places they'd traveled, dreams they had. Ariel found herself genuinely enjoying his company. He was smart, funny in a dry way, and surprisingly easy to talk to when he wasn't being the CEO. We should go shopping, Gideon said eventually. You'll need appropriate clothes for the weekend. The rehearsal dinner is formal. The wedding is black tie optional. The brunch is casual but still upscale. I have clothes, Ariel protested even though she didn't. Not the kind he was talking about. Ariel, this isn't about charity. This is about making sure you're comfortable and confident. If you're worried about your outfit, you won't be able to focus on the role. Let me handle this. Please. The please got her. It was the first time he'd asked rather than directed. Okay, she agreed. They spent the rest of the afternoon in stores Ariel had only ever window shopped at before. Gideon had opinions about what worked and what didn't, but he listened when she said something didn't feel right. They found a deep red dress for the rehearsal dinner, a midnight blue gown for the wedding, and a soft yellow sundress for the brunch. He insisted on shoes, a clutch, even jewelry. This is too much, Ariel said, watching the total climb on the register. It's not. Trust me. He handed his card to the clerk without hesitation. Besides, you can keep everything afterward. Consider it part of your compensation. The $35,000 is already generous. You're doing me a favor I can't repay with money alone. My sister's happiness, my family's peace of mind, those are priceless. This is nothing. They loaded the bags into his car, a sleek black sedan that probably cost more than Ariel would make in 5 years. As they drove back to her apartment, she found herself relaxing in his presence. This might actually work. Friday morning, I'll pick you up at 7, Gideon said as they pulled up outside her building. The drive to Napa is about 2 hours. We'll go over any last-minute details on the way. I'll be ready. He got out, came around to help her with the bags. At her building's entrance he paused. Ariel? Thank you. For doing this. I know it's strange, but I appreciate it. You're paying me very well to do this. Still. Thank you. She watched him drive away, then carried the bags upstairs. Her roommate Claire was home, eyes widening at the designer shopping bags. Did you rob a store? Claire asked. Better. I got a weekend gig. Long story. Ariel didn't explain further. The NDA prevented it. But that night, trying on the dresses again, she caught herself smiling. Friday couldn't come fast enough. Friday morning arrived with clear skies and nervous energy. Ariel had barely slept, running through scenarios in her head. What if she said something wrong? What if his family hated her? What if she couldn't pull this off? Gideon arrived exactly at 7, looking relaxed in dark slacks and a white shirt. He loaded her small suitcase into his trunk, then opened the passenger door for her. "Ready?" he asked. "As I'll ever be." The drive to Napa Valley was beautiful, the landscape changing from city to hills to vineyards. They went over their story again, refining details. But mostly they talked about other things. His work, her dreams of starting her own company, places they wanted to travel. "Why event planning?" Gideon asked at one point. "Because I love creating moments that matter," Ariel said. "Weddings, anniversaries, celebrations. Those are the days people remember forever. Being part of making those perfect, that's everything to me. You're good at what you do. I saw your portfolio, the designs you've done. You have real talent." "Thank you. That means a lot." As they crossed into wine country, Gideon's demeanor shifted slightly. Less relaxed, more focused. "We're almost there," he said. "Once we arrive, we're a couple. No breaking character unless we're completely alone. Can you do that?" "Yes. And if at any point you're uncomfortable, truly uncomfortable, you tell me. Contract or not, your well-being matters." Ariel looked at him, surprised by the genuine concern in his voice. "I will. I promise." They turned onto a long driveway lined with olive trees. At the end sat a beautiful estate, stone and wood and glass, surrounded by vineyards. Other cars were already parked in the circular drive. The wedding weekend had begun. Gideon reached over and took her hand. "Here we go." Ariel squeezed back. "Let's give your sister the perfect wedding." They walked to the door together, hand in hand, ready to tell the most important story of their lives. Even if it wasn't true yet. The massive front door opened before they could knock. A woman stood there, early 30s, with warm brown eyes and dark hair pulled into a casual ponytail. She wore jeans and a bright coral t-shirt, and her face lit up when she saw Gideon. "You're here." Rachel Blackwell launched herself at her brother, hugging him tightly. "I was starting to worry you'd cancel at the last minute. I wouldn't miss this, Ratch." Gideon hugged her back, and Ariel saw the real affection there. This was who he was when he wasn't being the CEO. "Rachel, this is Ariel Sutton." "Ariel, my sister Rachel." Rachel turned to Ariel, her smile genuine and warm. "Finally. Gideon's been so secretive about you. I was starting to think you were imaginary." "Very real," Ariel said, returning the hug Rachel immediately pulled her into. "It's so wonderful to meet you. Congratulations on your wedding." "Thank you. Come in, come in." Everyone's out on the terrace. Thomas is taste-testing wine for the reception, and Aunt Patricia is reorganizing the seating chart for the millionth time. Rachel grabbed Ariel's hand, pulling her inside. "I want to hear everything about how you two met." Gideon's been incredibly vague on the phone. The house was stunning. High ceilings, exposed beams, windows everywhere letting in natural light. They walked through a living room with comfortable furniture and family photos on every surface. Ariel caught glimpses of younger versions of Gideon and Rachel, frozen in happier times. The terrace overlooked rolling vineyards, the vines heavy with grapes ready for harvest. A group of people sat around a large table, wine bottles and glasses spread before them. A man with kind eyes and sandy hair stood when they approached. "The mysterious brother arrives," he said, grinning. "Thomas Martinez. You must be Ariel. Nice to meet you." Ariel shook his hand, liking him immediately. He had an easy confidence, a warmth that complemented Rachel's energy perfectly. "And this," Rachel said, gesturing to an elegant older woman in white linen, "is our Aunt Patricia." Patricia Blackwell stood, assessing Ariel with sharp eyes. She was in her 60s, with silver hair styled perfectly and an air of authority that reminded Ariel of Gideon. This was the woman who had helped raise them, and her opinion clearly mattered. "Miss Sutton," Patricia said, extending her hand. "How lovely to finally meet the woman who has captured my nephew's attention. He's been quite private about you. Please call me Ariel. And I've heard wonderful things about you. Gideon speaks so highly of how you supported him and Rachel." Something softened in Patricia's expression. "Does he? Well, that's good to know." She turned to Gideon. "You look well. Happier than the last time I saw you." Gideon's arm slid around Ariel's waist, pulling her close. The gesture felt natural, protective. I'm happy. Very happy. The ease with which he said it surprised Ariel. He was a better actor than she'd given him credit for. Or maybe it wasn't entirely acting. Maybe some part of him was genuinely happy in this moment, surrounded by family. The pressure of his normal life temporarily lifted. Sit, Thomas said, pulling out chairs. We're trying to decide between the 2019 and 2021 Pinot Noir for the reception. You both need to weigh in. The next hour passed in a blur of conversation and laughter. Thomas was funny, telling stories about the wedding planning disasters that had Rachel playfully hitting his arm. Patricia asked thoughtful questions about Ariel's work, seeming genuinely interested in event coordination and design. Rachel wanted to know everything about their relationship, how Gideon had asked her out, what their first date was like. Ariel found herself relaxing into the story they'd created. It felt real in the telling, especially with Gideon beside her, his hand resting on her knee under the table, his occasional smile when she said something that amused him. So the charity gala, Rachel said, leaning forward with interest. That's where you met? How romantic. I wouldn't say romantic, Ariel laughed. I was stressed beyond belief. The caterer had mixed up the orders, the sound system kept cutting out, and I was running around trying to fix everything. Gideon saw me yelling at a confused waiter and thought it was hilarious. I thought it was impressive, Gideon corrected. You were handling chaos with grace. Solving problems on the fly. I asked my assistant who you were, then tracked you down during dinner. He told me he'd never seen anyone manage a crisis that well, Ariel continued, warming to the story. Then he asked if I'd have dinner with him to discuss event management strategies. Very smooth. It worked, Gideon said simply, his fingers tracing small circles on her knee. The touch sent unexpected warmth through her. You two are adorable, Rachel declared. Gideon, I can't remember the last time I saw you this relaxed. Ariel, you're good for him. She is, Patricia agreed, studying them both. Tell me, Ariel, what do you think of my nephew's workaholic tendencies? I think, Ariel said carefully, that Gideon is passionate about what he does. He built something amazing from nothing. But I also think everyone needs balance. We're working on that. Are you? Patricia's eyebrow raised. How? I make him leave the office at a reasonable hour at least twice a week, Ariel said. We cook dinner together. Nothing fancy, just time away from screens and spreadsheets. It's important. Rachel beamed. See? This is what I've been saying. Gideon, you need someone who makes you slow down. She does, Gideon said quietly, looking at Ariel. She makes me remember there's more to life than work. The intensity in his gaze caught Ariel off guard. For a moment it didn't feel like acting. It felt real. Too real. She looked away first, reaching for her wine glass. So, tell me about the wedding plans. Rachel, I'd love to hear about the design choices you made. Rachel lit up, and the conversation shifted to flowers and color schemes and the timeline for tomorrow's ceremony. Ariel listened with genuine interest, offering occasional thoughts and compliments. This was her element, and she could tell Rachel appreciated having someone who understood the details. As the afternoon wore on, more family members arrived. Thomas's parents, warm and welcoming. A few cousins, friendly and curious. Each introduction felt easier than the last. Gideon stayed close, his presence steady and reassuring. When they finally broke for the afternoon to rest before the rehearsal dinner, Rachel showed them to their accommodations. The guest house was separate from the main estate, a beautiful stone cottage surrounded by lavender. This is yours for the weekend, Rachel said, opening the door. Inside was a cozy living space, a kitchenette, and a bedroom with a large bed covered in white linens. I know it's just one bedroom, but I figured you two wouldn't mind sharing. Ariel's stomach flipped. She and Gideon hadn't discussed sleeping arrangements. The contract said separate rooms. Actually, Gideon began, but Rachel was already heading for the door. Dinner's at 7. Dress code is formal. Can't wait to see you both there. She winked at Ariel. He's crazy about you, you know? I can tell. My brother doesn't do anything halfway, and the way he looks at you? That's real. She left before either of them could respond. Ariel and Gideon stood in the doorway looking at the single bed. I'll take the couch, Gideon said immediately. Are you sure? It doesn't look very comfortable. I've slept in worse places. You take the bed. He brought their bags inside, setting hers near the bedroom door. We have a few hours before dinner. You should rest. It's going to be a long evening. Gideon? Yes. Your family is wonderful. Thank you for letting me be part of this. He smiled, that genuine smile that transformed his face. Thank you for being here. You're doing amazingly well. Rachel already loves you. I love her. She's special. She is. He paused. Get some rest, Ariel. Tonight's the rehearsal dinner. That's when things get really real. As Ariel unpacked her dress and got ready for the evening ahead, she couldn't shake Rachel's words. The way he looks at you? That's real. It wasn't real. It was a contract, a performance, a business arrangement. But as she thought about Gideon's hand on her knee, the warmth in his eyes when he looked at her, the easy way they'd fallen into conversation with his family, Ariel wondered if maybe, just maybe, the line between pretending and reality was starting to blur. And that scared her more than anything. The rehearsal dinner was scheduled for 7, but at 5 o'clock, Rachel knocked on their door with an unexpected invitation. The wedding planner scheduled a private wine tasting for the bridal party, she announced, bouncing on her toes with excitement. It's at the vineyard's main tasting room. Please say you'll both come? I know it's technically just for the wedding party, but I want you there, Ariel. And Gideon, you're my brother. You count. How could they refuse? 20 minutes later, they walked hand in hand through the vineyard toward a beautiful stone building with cellar door carved above the entrance. The late afternoon sun cast everything in gentle light, the air warm and filled with the scent of grapes and earth. Inside, the tasting room was intimate and elegant. Dark wood tables, wine barrels as decoration, shelves lined with bottles. A woman in her 40s with kind eyes and expert hands stood behind the bar, 5 glasses already set out for each person. Welcome, she said. I'm Kathleen, the vineyard's head sommelier. Today we'll be tasting 5 wines from lightest to boldest. These are all from our estate, and any you particularly enjoy can be incorporated into tomorrow's celebration. The wedding party gathered around the table. Thomas's best man, a cheerful guy named Ben, immediately started joking about not being able to feel his face by the end of this. Rachel's maid of honor, her childhood friend Sophie, was more interested in the technical aspects of winemaking. First, Kathleen said, pouring a light golden wine, our 2022 Sauvignon Blanc. Notice the citrus notes, the crisp finish. Ariel sipped carefully, aware that she needed to stay sharp tonight. The wine was delicious, bright and refreshing. Beside her, Gideon barely tasted his, she noticed. Always in control even here. What do you think? He asked quietly. It's beautiful. Clean, simple in the best way. Like you. Ariel blinked at him. What? Your design aesthetic. I looked at your portfolio, remember? Everything you create is clean, simple, but beautiful. No unnecessary complications. Just what needs to be there. The compliment caught her off guard. You really looked at my work? Of course. I wanted to know who I was hiring. He took her hand, threading their fingers together. I'm glad I did. You're talented, Ariel. Really talented. Kathleen moved to the next wine, a Chardonnay with oak aging. Rachel and Thomas were debating whether it was too heavy for the reception. Sophie was taking notes, ever the organized one. Patricia had arrived late, sitting at the end of the table with her own glass, watching everyone with those sharp, assessing eyes. This is my favorite part of weddings, Ariel said softly, watching Rachel laugh at something Thomas said. The small moments before the big day. When it's just about joy and celebration before any stress sets in. Do you want this someday? Gideon asked. A wedding of your own? The question felt too personal for their arrangement. But his tone was genuinely curious, not just maintaining their cover. I do, Ariel admitted. But only if it's real. Only if it's with someone who makes me feel like Thomas makes Rachel feel. Like she's the most important person in the world. That's a high standard. It should be. Marriage is forever. Or it's supposed to be. She paused. What about you? Did you ever come close? Something shuddered in Gideon's expression. Once. A long time ago. It didn't work out. Before Ariel could ask more, Kathleen announced the third wine, a Pinot Noir that made Rachel sigh with happiness. This one, she declared. This is perfect. It's good, Thomas agreed, but let's try the others before deciding. The fourth wine was a bold Cabernet, rich and complex. Ariel found herself actually enjoying the tasting, the education behind each pour. Kathleen explained terroir, vintage variation, the art of blending. It reminded Ariel of event planning, actually. Taking individual elements and combining them into something greater than the sum of parts. You're thinking about work, Gideon observed. How can you tell? You get this look. Focused, analytical. Same expression you had when Rachel was describing her floral arrangements earlier. Am I that transparent? only to someone paying attention. His thumb traced circles on her palm. What were you thinking? That winemaking is like event planning. Individual pieces that need to come together perfectly. Timing, balance, knowing when something needs more or less of an element. Tell her that, Gideon suggested, nodding toward Kathleen. She'd appreciate the comparison. So Ariel did. When there was a pause in the tasting, she mentioned the connection she'd seen between winemaking and event design. Kathleen's face lit up. Exactly, she exclaimed. It's all about harmony. Every component matters, but it has to work as a whole. You have a good eye for systems. Ariel's an event coordinator, Rachel said proudly, as if she'd known her for years instead of hours. She's amazing at what she does. Weddings? Kathleen asked. Some. Mostly corporate events and smaller celebrations right now. But I'd love to focus more on weddings eventually. Start my own company. You should, Sophie, the maid of honor, chimed in. Seriously, the insights you've been sharing today about Rachel's setup? You know your stuff. Pride bloomed in Ariel's chest. These people didn't know her, had no reason to be kind, but they were anyway. Because they thought she mattered to Gideon and Gideon mattered to Rachel. The fifth and final wine was a dessert wine, sweet and golden. As they sipped, Thomas stood up, glass raised. Before we head to dinner, I want to say something, he began. Rachel, tomorrow I get to marry my best friend. The woman who makes me laugh every day, who supports my dreams, who makes me want to be better. But tonight, I want to thank the person who made you who you are. He turned to Gideon. Your brother raised you when he was barely an adult himself. He sacrificed his own life to give you everything you needed. Rachel, you're the woman you are because of Gideon. And Gideon, I promise I'll take care of her the way you have. She'll always be loved. Rachel was crying. Happy tears, but tears nonetheless. Gideon stood, pulling his sister into a hug. You're not losing me, Rachel whispered, loud enough for Ariel to hear. You know that, right? You'll always be my big brother. I know, Rach. I'm not losing you. I'm gaining Thomas. And I'm grateful for that. Patricia was dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. Ben, the best man, cleared his throat loudly, clearly moved. Even Sophie looked emotional. Ariel felt like an intruder on something private and beautiful. But then Gideon looked at her over Rachel's shoulder, and his expression said, thank you for being here. Like her presence mattered. Like she belonged. When they finally walked back to the guest house to change for dinner, the sun was setting, painting the vineyards gold and pink. That was beautiful, Ariel said. What Thomas said. Your sister is lucky to have both of you. I'm the lucky one, Gideon replied. Rachel saved me as much as I saved her. After our parents died, I had a purpose. Someone who needed me. Without her, I would have just worked myself to death, probably. She gave me a reason to live, not just exist. The rawness in his voice made Ariel's chest tight. You're a good man, Gideon Blackwell. Am I? Sometimes I wonder. I'm so focused on work, on building something, that I forget about everything else. Everyone else. Not everyone. Not Rachel. No. Not Rachel. He stopped walking, turning to face her. Ariel, I need to tell you something. Her heart stuttered. What? This weekend being here with you, it's easier than I expected. You make this feel natural. Real. I'm grateful for that. I'm just doing what you hired me to do. No, you're doing more. You're being kind to people you don't know. You're making my sister happy. You're making me feel less alone. Ariel didn't know what to say to that. The intensity in his eyes, the vulnerability in his voice, it all felt too real. This was supposed to be pretend. A job. A contract. We should get ready for dinner, she finally said. Patricia strikes me as the type who appreciates punctuality. She is. Come on. But as they walked the rest of the way in silence, Ariel couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between them. The line between acting and reality, already blurry, was getting harder to see. And that terrified her. Because in 2 days this would all be over. She'd go back to her real life and Gideon would go back to his. This wasn't permanent. It couldn't be. No matter how much a small, foolish part of her was starting to wish it was. The rehearsal dinner was held in the estate's grand dining room, all candlelight and elegant place settings. Ariel wore the deep red dress they'd bought, and Gideon wore a perfectly tailored navy suit. When she emerged from the bedroom, his reaction was worth every moment of nervousness. You look stunning, he said simply. You clean up pretty well yourself. They walked to the main house together, his hand warm at the small of her back. The gesture felt protective, possessive even. She wondered if he realized he did it or if it was just part of the performance. The dinner table sat 20 people. Rachel and Thomas at the head, Patricia to Rachel's right, Gideon and Ariel to Thomas's left. The other seats filled with family and close friends, all dressed beautifully, all radiating happiness. "Before we begin," Patricia announced, standing with her wine glass raised, "I want to welcome everyone to this celebration. Rachel, Thomas, your love brings all of us together. Tomorrow you begin a new chapter, but tonight, we celebrate the journey that brought you here." Everyone drank to that. The servers brought out the first course, a delicate salad with local ingredients. Conversation flowed easily, multiple discussions happening at once. Ariel found herself talking to Thomas's mother, a sweet woman named Carmen who wanted to know everything about her son's wedding. "The flowers are all locally sourced," Ariel explained, having absorbed the details from Rachel earlier. "Burgundy roses, white peonies, dusty blue hydrangeas. Very romantic but grounded. Exactly what Rachel wanted." "You know quite a bit about weddings," Carmen observed. "It's my job." "Well, part of it. I coordinate events, so I pay attention to details." "Gideon mentioned you have your own business?" Ariel hesitated. "That wasn't technically true. I'm working toward it. Right now I work for a firm, but eventually I'd like to go independent." "You should," Carmen said firmly. "With your eye for detail and obvious passion, you'd be wonderful." Across the table, Patricia was talking to Gideon about his company. Business talk, but not cold. More like family checking in on each other. "Your last quarter's numbers were impressive," Patricia said. "I saw the article in the business journal. You should be proud." "Thank you. It's been a good year. And now you have other priorities too." Patricia glanced meaningfully at Ariel. "That's healthy, Gideon. Your father would be proud of how you've built the company, but he'd also want you to have a life beyond work." Something flickered in Gideon's expression. "I know. Do you? Because I've watched you for 17 years pour everything into providing for Rachel and building your business. But what about you? What about what you want?" "I have what I want. Do you?" Patricia's gaze softened. "I'm glad you brought Ariel. She seems good for you. Real grounded. Don't let her slip away." Gideon reached under the table, finding Ariel's hand. "I don't plan to." The conviction in his voice made Ariel's breath catch. He was good at this, too good. Or maybe he meant it in the moment, even knowing it was temporary. The dinner continued through multiple courses. By the time dessert arrived, everyone was relaxed, stories flowing freely. Ben told an embarrassing story about Thomas from college. Sophie shared memories of Rachel from childhood. Even Patricia laughed, the stern exterior cracking to show genuine warmth. "Ariel," Rachel said during a lull, "I want to ask you something. And please be honest." "Of course. How did you know Gideon was the one?" "I mean, he's wonderful, obviously I'm biased. But he's also work-focused and guarded and not exactly emotionally available. How did you break through that?" Every eye at the table turned to Ariel. This was it. The moment where she could either sell the story completely or raise suspicion. "I didn't break through anything," Ariel said honestly. "I just saw him. Not the CEO, not the successful businessman. Just Gideon. A man who cared so deeply about his sister that he'd put his entire life on hold to raise her. A man who built something from nothing through sheer determination. A man who was lonely but didn't know how to stop being lonely." She glanced at Gideon, finding his eyes already on her. "I didn't break through walls. I just showed up and waited until he was ready to open the door." The table was silent for a moment. Then Rachel sniffled. "That's beautiful," she whispered. "And so true. Gideon, you found someone who gets you." "I did," Gideon said quietly, his grip on Ariel's hand tightening. "I really did." But he wasn't looking at his sister. He was looking at Ariel, and the expression on his face made her heart race. Because it looked like wonder, like surprise, like he'd just realized something important. Are you watching this story unfold and feeling the chemistry between Gideon and Ariel? Don't miss what happens next. Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me if you think they'll admit their real feelings or keep pretending. Your thoughts matter, and I read every single comment. The moment passed. Conversation resumed. But something had shifted between them, something real and undeniable. After dinner, the group moved to the terrace for more wine and conversation. Ariel found herself alone with Rachel for a moment, both of them looking out at the vineyard under the stars. "I'm so happy Gideon found you," Rachel said. "I've been worried about him for years. He gives so much to everyone else but never lets anyone give back to him. You make him happy. I can see it." "He makes me happy too," Ariel said, and realized with a start that it was true. These past few days, getting to know him, seeing him with his family, It had made her genuinely happy. "Can I tell you something?" Rachel asked. "Of course." When our parents died, Gideon was in his last year of college. He had job offers from major tech companies, opportunities to travel, his whole life ahead of him. He gave all of it up to take care of me. Never complained, never made me feel like a burden. But I knew what he'd sacrificed. Rachel's voice caught. "Tomorrow, when I get married, I'm finally freeing him from that responsibility. But I need to know he's not going to be alone. That someone will take care of him the way he's taken care of everyone else. Will you do that, Ariel? Will you take care of my brother?" The weight of the request settled on Ariel's shoulders. Rachel had no idea their relationship was fake. No idea that in 2 days Ariel would walk away and Gideon would return to his solitary life. But looking at Rachel's hopeful face, hearing the love and concern in her voice, Ariel couldn't tell the truth. "Yes," she promised. "I'll take care of him." Rachel hugged her tight. "Thank you. That means everything to me." Later, walking back to the guest house, Gideon was quiet, thoughtful. They reached the door and he paused. "What you said at dinner," he began. "About seeing me, not the CEO. Did you mean that?" Ariel considered lying, maintaining the distance. But something about this night, this moment, made her want to be honest. "Yes," she said. "I did mean it. You're more than your success, Gideon. You're a man who loves his sister, who keeps his promises, who's kind even when you don't have to be. That's what I see." He looked at her for a long moment. "I see you too, Ariel. The woman who takes 3 jobs to stay afloat, who dreams bigger than her circumstances, who's kind to strangers. You're remarkable." They stood in the doorway, the space between them charged with something neither wanted to name. "We should get some sleep," Ariel finally said. "Tomorrow's a big day." "Yes, tomorrow." But he didn't move. Neither did she. The moment stretched, full of possibility and danger. Then Gideon stepped back, breaking the spell. "Good night, Ariel." "Good night." She closed the bedroom door behind her, leaning against it, heart racing. This was supposed to be simple. A contract, a performance, a business arrangement. But nothing about the way she was starting to feel about Gideon Blackwell was simple. And she had no idea what to do about it. The wedding day started with brilliant sunshine and perfect weather. Ariel woke early, finding Gideon already awake, working on his laptop at the small table. "You're up early," she said. "Couldn't sleep. Too much on my mind." He closed the laptop, giving her his full attention. "How did you sleep?" "Fine. The bed is comfortable." She poured herself coffee from the pot he'd already made. "What time do we need to be at the main house?" "Ceremony's at 4. Rachel wanted us there around 1 for photos. That gives us a few hours. Want to walk through the vineyards? It's beautiful out." Gideon agreed, and they spent the morning strolling the property. They talked about everything and nothing. Books they'd read, movies they'd seen, childhood memories. Easy conversation that felt natural, comfortable. "Can I ask you something?" Ariel ventured. "Last night, Patricia mentioned your father. You don't talk about your parents much." Gideon's expression clouded slightly. "There's not much to tell. Dad was a software engineer, Mom was a teacher. They were good people. Regular, normal. They died when a drunk driver ran a red light. One moment they were here, the next they weren't. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. But sometimes I wonder what they'd think of how things turned out. If they'd be proud of what I built, or disappointed that I gave up so much to do it." "They'd be proud," Ariel said with certainty. "How could they not be? You raised Rachel, built a successful company, took care of everyone around you. That's incredible. I did what I had to do." "No, you did more than that. You chose to do it and you did it well." He looked at her, something vulnerable in his expression. "Thank you for saying that." They returned to the guest house to get ready. Ariel spent an hour on her hair and makeup, wanting everything perfect. The midnight blue gown fit like a dream, elegant and timeless. When she emerged from the bedroom, Gideon was in his tuxedo, looking impossibly handsome. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready." The main house was controlled chaos. Rachel was in the master suite with Sophie and her mother, getting ready. Thomas was with his groomsmen in another room. Patricia coordinated everything like a general managing troops. Photographers captured every moment. "Ariel," Rachel called when she saw her. "Come here. I want pictures with you." "With me?" "But I'm not in the wedding party. You're family now. That means pictures." So Ariel found herself in photos with Rachel, both of them laughing. The photographer captured candid moments. Rachel adjusting her veil, Ariel fixing a loose curl, both of them looking at each other with genuine affection. Thank you, Rachel whispered during one quiet moment. For making my brother happy. For being here. Guilt twisted in Ariel's stomach. This was all fake. A contract. Rachel's gratitude was based on a lie. But before she could dwell on it, Patricia appeared. It's time. Everyone to their places. The ceremony was outdoors on a terrace overlooking the vineyards. White chairs lined in neat rows, an arch covered in flowers at the front. Guests filled the seats, dressed beautifully, all waiting for the bride. Gideon found Ariel in the crowd, taking her hand as they sat together. You look beautiful, he murmured. So do you. The music started. The groomsmen walked down the aisle, then the bridesmaids. Sophie came last, radiant in her burgundy dress. Then everyone stood. Rachel appeared at the top of the aisle on Patricia's arm. The sight made Ariel's breath catch. Rachel looked like a dream in white lace, her face glowing with happiness. Gideon's hand tightened on Ariel's. She glanced at him, saw tears in his eyes. She's beautiful, Ariel whispered. She's grown up, Gideon replied, his voice thick. When did that happen? They watched Rachel walk down the aisle, watched her take Thomas's hand, watched them exchange vows that were personal and moving. Thomas promised to be her partner, her equal, her best friend. Rachel promised the same. When the officiant pronounced them married, the whole crowd cheered. Rachel and Thomas kissed, then walked back down the aisle as husband and wife. The reception was in a large tent, decorated beautifully with fairy lights and flowers everywhere. Dinner was served, toasts were made. Ben's best man speech was funny and touching. Sophie's maid of honor toast had everyone crying. Then came the dancing. Rachel and Thomas's first dance was to a slow, romantic song. Gideon watched his sister with such pride and love that Ariel felt her own eyes water. Dance with me? Gideon asked when the song ended and the floor opened to everyone. Of course. He led her onto the dance floor, pulling her close. They swayed to the music, and Ariel let herself enjoy the moment. His hand warm on her back, the solid presence of him, the way he looked at her like she mattered. This has been a perfect day, she said. It has. Thank you for being part of it. You've thanked me a dozen times this weekend. You can stop now. I'll thank you as many times as I want. His hand traced small circles on her back. Ariel, I need to tell you something. Her heart hammered. What? This weekend being here with you, it's made me realize. Well. Gideon Blackwell. I heard you'd finally found someone. They turned. A woman stood beside them, early 30s, stunning in an emerald green dress. Long dark hair, sharp eyes, confident smile. She looked at Gideon like she owned him. Vanessa, Gideon said, his voice carefully neutral. I didn't know you were coming. Thomas is my cousin. Did you forget? Vanessa's eyes slid to Ariel, assessing and dismissive. And you must be the girlfriend. How interesting. Ariel Sutton, Ariel said, extending her hand. Nice to meet you. Vanessa's handshake was perfunctory. Vanessa Crawford. I used to work with Gideon. We were quite close, actually. The implication was clear. Ariel felt Gideon tense beside her. That was a long time ago, Gideon said. Was it? Seems like yesterday to me. Vanessa smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm surprised you're here, actually. Wedding celebrations aren't really your thing, Gideon. You always said they were a waste of time. That was before. Before what? Before you hired someone to play your girlfriend? The words dropped like stones in water. Ariel's stomach plummeted. Excuse me? Gideon's voice went cold. Oh, come on. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? I know you, Gideon. You don't do relationships. You don't let people in. So when I heard you were bringing a girlfriend to Rachel's wedding, I did some research. Ariel Sutton, event coordinator. 3 jobs, struggling financially. Then suddenly spending the weekend at an expensive vineyard estate with a billionaire who's never dated anyone seriously in his life. Vanessa laughed, the sound cruel. It's obvious. This is an arrangement. A transaction. You're paying her to be here. Several nearby couples had stopped dancing, listening. Patricia was approaching, concern on her face. Rachel and Thomas had noticed something was wrong. That's not true, Ariel said, but her voice wavered. Isn't it? Tell me, Ariel, how much did he offer you? 30,000? 40? What's the going rate for a fake girlfriend these days? Vanessa, that's enough, Gideon said sharply. Why? Because you don't want everyone to know the truth? That you're so incapable of a real relationship that you had to hire someone to convince your family you're not completely alone. Vanessa's voice rose, carrying across the tent. It's sad, Gideon. Pathetic, actually. Stop it, Ariel said, finding her voice. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? Then tell everyone here, right now, that you and Gideon have a real relationship. That you're not being paid to be here. Tell them. The tent had gone quiet. Everyone was watching. Rachel looked devastated. Patricia's face was a mask of shock. Thomas had his arm around Rachel, trying to comfort her. Ariel looked at Gideon. His jaw was tight, his eyes stormy. He looked like he wanted to defend them, but what could he say? Vanessa was right. This was an arrangement. Ariel was being paid to be here. But then Gideon did something unexpected. He stepped forward, his voice clear and strong. Yes, he said. Vanessa's right. I hired Ariel to come to this wedding with me. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Rachel made a small hurt sound. Patricia closed her eyes. But, Gideon continued, his voice rising, what started as a business arrangement became something I never expected. Ariel, over these past few days, you've shown me what it means to be truly seen. Not as a CEO, not as Rachel's brother, but as just me. You've made me laugh, made me think, made me want to be better. And somewhere between the contract and this moment, I fell in love with you. The tent was dead silent. Ariel stared at him, unable to breathe. I'm sorry, Rachel, Gideon said, turning to his sister. I'm sorry I lied. I was scared you'd worry about me after the wedding, scared you wouldn't feel free to start your new life. So I hired someone to play a role. But Ariel stopped playing the moment she got here. Everything you've seen this weekend, all the kindness and warmth and genuine care, that's real. She's real. And I'm an idiot for not realizing sooner that what I feel for her is real too. He looked back at Ariel, his eyes intense. I love you. I know I have no right to. I know this isn't what we agreed to. But it's the truth. And I'm done hiding from the truth. Ariel's eyes filled with tears. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. They'd known each other for less than a week. But the emotion in Gideon's voice, the vulnerability in his eyes, it felt real. Say something, Gideon whispered. Please. But before she could respond, Rachel spoke. Get out. Everyone turned to look at her. Rachel stood beside Thomas, tears streaming down her face. Get out of my wedding. Both of you. Now. The words hit like physical blows. Rachel's face was twisted with hurt and betrayal, tears ruining her carefully applied makeup. Thomas held her, looking between his new wife and Gideon with a mixture of sympathy and disappointment. Rachel, Gideon started, stepping toward her. Please let me explain. Explain what? That you lied to me? That you brought a stranger to my wedding and pretended she was your girlfriend? That everything this weekend was fake? Rachel's voice broke. I trusted you. I believed you when you said you were happy. I thought you'd finally found someone, that I could stop worrying about you being alone. But it was all a performance. It wasn't, Gideon insisted. Not all of it. Ariel is. A woman you paid to be here, Rachel interrupted. Don't try to make this romantic now, Gideon. You lied to your family on my wedding day. Patricia stepped forward, her expression stern but not unkind. Rachel, perhaps we should discuss this privately. This is your wedding. Don't let this ruin. It's already ruined. Rachel's voice rose. My brother hired a fake girlfriend. Everyone here heard it. Everyone knows. How am I supposed to celebrate after this? Ariel felt like she was going to be sick. This was her fault. She'd taken the money, agreed to the deception, played along. And now Rachel's perfect day was destroyed. I'm sorry, Ariel said, her voice barely a whisper. I'm so sorry, Rachel. This wasn't supposed to happen. No, it wasn't. Rachel looked at her, and the betrayal in her eyes made Ariel want to disappear. I liked you. I thought you were good for my brother. I was happy he'd found someone. But you were just doing a job. At first, Ariel admitted, tears streaming down her face now. But Rachel, everything I said about you, about your wedding, about how special this is, that was real. I wasn't pretending about that. How am I supposed to believe anything you say? Vanessa stood to the side, looking satisfied with the chaos she'd created. Other guests were whispering, some sympathetic, others scandalized. The perfect wedding had become a disaster. This is my fault, Gideon said, his voice steady despite the obvious pain in his eyes. Not Ariel's. I'm the one who created this situation. I'm the one who lied. She was just helping me because I asked her to. Because you paid her to, Rachel corrected bitterly. Yes, because I paid her to. Gideon didn't flinch from the truth. I was scared, Rachel. Scared that after your wedding, you'd spend your honeymoon worrying about me. Scared that you'd feel guilty for being happy while I was alone. I wanted to give you peace of mind, even if I had to manufacture it. So you lied to me. On the most important day of my life. Yes. And I'm sorrier than I can ever express. Gideon's voice cracked. You're my sister. My responsibility. My world. I raised you, protected you, tried to give you everything you needed. But I couldn't protect you from worrying about me. So I tried to fix it the only way I knew how. By creating an illusion that would let you be happy. Patricia placed a hand on Rachel's shoulder. He was trying to help in his own misguided way. By lying? By loving you so much that he couldn't bear the thought of you being worried. Patricia looked at Gideon, her expression complex. It was wrong, but the intention came from love. Thomas spoke for the first time. Rachel, honey, I know you're hurt. You have every right to be. But this is still our wedding day. Don't let this take that away from us. How can I celebrate when my own brother lied to me? Because we love each other. Because this day is about us, not about Gideon's mistakes. Thomas kissed her forehead gently. We can be angry later. Right now, let's not give Vanessa the satisfaction of ruining our reception. At the mention of her name, all eyes turned to Vanessa. She shrugged, unapologetic. I just told the truth. If that ruined the reception, that's not my fault. You knew exactly what you were doing, Patricia said coldly. Creating drama at a family wedding because you're bitter that Gideon moved on. Moved on to a hired actress? Please. No, a voice said firmly. Ariel stepped forward, done with hiding. Moved on from you. Because clearly he had terrible taste before. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. Excuse me? You heard me. You came here tonight specifically to cause problems. Not because you care about the truth, but because you wanted to hurt Gideon. What kind of person does that? What kind of person ruins someone's wedding out of spite? I'm not the one who lied to everyone. No, you're just the one who decided to expose that lie in the most public, hurtful way possible. Congratulations. You've made a bride cry on her wedding day. You must be so proud. Vanessa's face flushed with anger, but before she could respond, Patricia spoke. I think you should leave, Vanessa. You're no longer welcome at this celebration. You can't kick me out. I'm family. Thomas? Patricia looked at the groom. Thomas didn't hesitate. Vanessa, please leave. You've done enough damage tonight. For a moment, it looked like Vanessa might argue. But seeing the unified front against her, she grabbed her clutch and stalked toward the exit. This family is ridiculous, she muttered as she left. The tent felt lighter with her gone, but the damage was done. Rachel was still crying, guests were still whispering, and the celebration had been thoroughly disrupted. I'll go, Gideon said quietly. Rachel, I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. Ariel had nothing to do with this. If you're going to be angry at anyone, be angry at me. He turned to leave, but Rachel's voice stopped him. Wait. He turned back. Rachel was wiping her eyes, Thomas's arms still around her. Did you mean it? Rachel asked. What you said about falling in love with her. Or was that just part of the performance? Gideon looked at Ariel, and the emotion in his eyes was undeniable. I meant every word. I didn't plan it. I didn't expect it. But yes, I fell in love with her. And you? Rachel looked at Ariel. Do you love my brother? Or was this really just a job? This was it. The moment of truth. Ariel could lie, could say it was just business, could walk away clean. Or she could be honest about the confusing, terrifying, wonderful feelings that had been growing all weekend. I didn't come here expecting anything but a paycheck, Ariel said slowly. I took this job because I was desperate. Because I needed the money to survive. But then I met your brother. The real him, not the CEO. The man who raised his sister with such love and dedication. The man who's been alone for so long that he forgot how to let people in. The man who makes terrible jokes and drinks too much coffee and worries about everything. She looked at Gideon, her voice breaking. I didn't plan to fall for him. But I did. Somewhere between the rehearsal dinner and the wine tasting and the quiet conversations, I fell completely in love with him. And that scares me more than anything because this was supposed to be temporary. It was supposed to end on Sunday. But now I don't know how I'm supposed to walk away. The tent was silent. Then Rachel spoke, her voice small and hurt but not angry. If you love him, why did you take the money? Because I needed it, Ariel said honestly. I'm being evicted from my apartment. My car is broken down. I have 3 jobs and still can't make ends meet. When your brother offered me $35,000 for 3 days of work, I couldn't say no. I wouldn't have survived without it. But I also wouldn't trade this weekend for anything, even knowing how it ended. Because I got to know Gideon. And I got to know you. And those things matter more than money. Rachel looked at her brother, then at Ariel, then back at her brother. You're both idiots. I know, Gideon said. Complete idiots. Yes. And you lied to me on my wedding day. I did. I'm sorry. Rachel took a shaky breath. Then, incredibly, she laughed. It was a wet, teary laugh, but genuine. Of course this would happen at my wedding. Of course my brother would fall in love during a fake relationship. Because nothing in this family can ever be simple. I'm sorry, Rach, Gideon said again. I know you are. Rachel wiped her eyes again, then looked at Thomas. What do you think? Thomas smiled. I think your brother loves you enough to make a terrible decision trying to help you. And I think he found something real in the process. And I think we should dance because this is our wedding and I want to dance with my wife. Rachel looked around the tent. At the guests watching with bated breath, at the decorations and flowers, at the life she was building with Thomas. Then she looked at her brother, standing there looking lost and vulnerable in a way she'd probably never seen him before. You're still an idiot, she said. But you're my idiot. And I love you. Gideon closed the distance between them, pulling his sister into a tight hug. I love you too. So much. I'm sorry. I know. We'll talk about this more later. Right now I'm going to dance with my husband. And you're going to dance with Ariel. And we're all going to pretend like this is still a perfect wedding. Deal? Deal. The music started again tentatively at first. Then Thomas led Rachel onto the dance floor, and they swayed together, ignoring everyone else. Slowly, other couples joined them. The celebration resumed, shakier than before but still there. Gideon turned to Ariel. Dance with me? Are you sure that's a good idea? Probably not. But I don't care anymore. He took her hand. Ariel, I meant what I said. I love you. I know that's insane. I know we've only known each other for a few days. But it's the truth. It's insane, Ariel agreed, letting him pull her onto the dance floor. Absolutely crazy. But I love you too. And I have no idea what that means or where this goes from here. Gideon smiled, really smiled, for the first time since Vanessa's revelation. We figure it out. Together. They danced under the fairy lights, surrounded by people who now knew the truth but were choosing to celebrate anyway. It wasn't the perfect ending Ariel had imagined. But somehow, it felt more real than perfect ever could. The rest of the reception passed in a surreal blur. After the confrontation with Vanessa and the emotional revelations, the celebration took on a different tone. Guests were more subdued, but there was also a strange sense of relief. The secret was out. No more pretending. Ariel and Gideon stayed for the rest of the evening, dancing and talking with family members who approached them with a mixture of curiosity and sympathy. Patricia pulled Ariel aside at one point. That took courage, the older woman said. Admitting the truth. Standing up to Vanessa. I respect that. I'm sorry we lied to you. I'm not pleased about the deception, but I understand why Gideon did it. He's been taking care of everyone else for so long, he forgot how to take care of himself. You've helped him remember. I don't know if I did anything. You did. Patricia squeezed her hand. You made him vulnerable. That's no small feat with my nephew. When the cake was cut and the bouquet tossed, Ariel caught it to Rachel's tearful laughter. The evening began winding down. Guests started leaving, offering congratulations to Rachel and Thomas, nodding politely to Gideon and Ariel. I should go pack, Ariel said as they walked back to the guest house. Tomorrow's checkout is probably going to be awkward enough without me being unprepared. Don't, Gideon said. Don't pack. Don't leave tomorrow. Stay for the farewell brunch. Stay because you want to, not because you're being paid. Ariel stopped walking. Gideon, I don't know if that's a good idea. Why not? Because we need to figure out what this is. What we are. You can't just declare you love someone and have everything be okay. Can't I? No. Love isn't a business arrangement. It's messy and complicated and scary. I know. Believe me, I know. He took her hands. But I also know that I meant what I said tonight. I love you, Ariel. And I want to see where this goes. Real this time. No contract, no payment, just two people getting to know each other. What if it doesn't work? What if we're only compatible in this artificial situation? Then we'll find out. But I'd rather try and fail than not try at all. Wouldn't you? Ariel thought about her life before this weekend. 3 jobs, crushing debt, no hope for anything better. Then she thought about the past few days. Laughing with Rachel, talking with Gideon, feeling like she belonged somewhere. I'll stay for brunch, she said. But after that, I need to go home. Back to real life. And you need to figure out if what you're feeling is real or just the emotion of the weekend. It's real. You can't know that yet. I can. But if you need time to believe it, I'll give you that. They reached the guest house. Gideon insisted she still take the bed, despite her protests. As she lay there that night, unable to sleep, she heard him moving around in the living room, equally restless. Morning came with soft light and birdsong. Ariel showered and dressed in the yellow sundress, the last outfit from their shopping trip. When she emerged, Gideon was already dressed, making coffee. Couldn't sleep either? She asked. Too much on my mind. He handed her a cup. Ariel, about last night? Let's not talk about it right now. Let's just have a nice brunch with your family and see what happens. He nodded, though clearly he wanted to say more. The farewell brunch was held on the main house terrace, the same place they'd done the wine tasting. The morning was beautiful, warm but not hot, with a light breeze carrying the scent of grapes and flowers. Rachel and Thomas arrived looking tired but happy. The stress of last night had faded, replaced by the glow of newlyweds. Rachel hugged Gideon tightly when she saw him. I'm still mad at you, she said. But I'm also glad you found something real. Even if you found it in the weirdest way possible. Are you okay? Gideon asked. After last night, I mean, did it ruin your wedding? It definitely made it memorable, Rachel laughed. But Thomas is right. It's our story now. The wedding where the bride's brother fell in love with his fake girlfriend. We'll be telling that story for years. I really am sorry, Rach. I know. And I forgive you. Eventually. Right now I'm focused on the fact that I'm married to the most wonderful man in the world and we're leaving for our honeymoon tonight. Brunch was a spread of pastries, fruit, eggs, and champagne. The conversation was lighter than the previous night, everyone seeming to have reached an unspoken agreement to move past the drama. Patricia told stories about Gideon and Rachel as children. Thomas's parents shared embarrassing tales about their son. Even Sophie had stories about Rachel from their school days. Ariel, Carmen, Thomas's mother, said at one point, "Have you and Gideon talked about the future?" The question made everyone pause. Ariel felt heat rise in her cheeks. "Mom," Thomas said gently, "maybe not the best time." "It's a fair question," Patricia interjected. "What happens now? You're both back in the city. You've admitted you have feelings for each other. Where does that leave things?" Ariel glanced at Gideon. He looked at her steadily, leaving the answer to her. "I don't know," Ariel admitted. "This weekend was intense. Beautiful but intense. I think we both need time to process everything that happened." "Time is fine," Rachel said. "As long as you don't use it as an excuse to run away. From what I saw, you two are good together. Really good. Don't throw that away because you're scared." "Rach," Gideon started. "No, I'm serious. You've spent 17 years putting everyone else first. Taking care of me, building your company, making sure everyone around you is okay. But you never let anyone take care of you. Ariel wants to. I can see it. So let her." The earnestness in Rachel's voice made Ariel's chest tight. "Your brother and I barely know each other. You know each other well enough to fall in love. That's not nothing. It's also not enough to build a relationship on. Then build more. Go on real dates. Have real conversations. Give this a real chance." Rachel looked between them. "Life is short. Mom and Dad taught us that. You don't get infinite opportunities for happiness. When something real comes along, you grab it." The brunch continued, but Rachel's words echoed in Ariel's mind. When something real comes along, you grab it. As the meal wound down and guests started saying their goodbyes, Rachel pulled Ariel aside one more time. "I meant what I said earlier," Rachel told her. "About giving this a real chance. Gideon's special. Difficult sometimes, stubborn, way too focused on work. But he has the biggest heart of anyone I know. He deserves to be happy. And for some reason you make him happy." "He makes me happy too," Ariel admitted. "Then don't walk away. Please. I've watched my brother be alone for so long. I can't watch it anymore. Rachel, I can't make promises about the future. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does. That's the point. You just have to try." They hugged and Ariel felt tears prick her eyes. She'd come here expecting a simple transaction. Instead, she'd found a family, a connection, something that mattered. When it was time to leave, Gideon loaded her bag into his car. The drive back to the city was quieter than the drive up. More thoughtful. Both of them processing everything that had happened. "Ariel," Gideon said as they entered city limits, "I need to ask you something." "What?" "The money. The 35,000. Do you still need it?" The question caught her off guard. Yes, I do. My financial situation hasn't changed." "Okay." He didn't say anything more until he pulled up outside her apartment building. Then he pulled out an envelope from his jacket. This is the payment we agreed on. Ariel took it, feeling strange. The money she'd come for, the whole reason she'd agreed to this, suddenly felt wrong in her hands. Thank you, she said quietly. You earned it. You did everything I asked and more. You made Rachel happy, you dealt with my family, you handled Vanessa with grace. You fulfilled your end of the contract. The word contract felt like a slap, reminding her this had started as business. What now? She asked. Now I'd like to take you to dinner. Tuesday night if you're free. A real date. No contract, no payment, just us. Gideon. Please. Give me a chance to show you this is real. That I'm serious about this. About us. Ariel looked at the envelope in her hands, then at Gideon's face. The vulnerability there, the hope, it made her want to say yes. Tuesday, she agreed. 7 o'clock. But pick me up here. I want to see if you can navigate my world as easily as I navigated yours. He smiled. Deal. She got out of the car, retrieved her bag from the trunk, and walked to her building's entrance. At the door she turned back. Gideon was still there watching her. Thank you, she called out. For everything. Thank you, he replied. For seeing me. She went inside, climbed the stairs to her apartment, and opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $35,000 just as promised. There was also a note in Gideon's handwriting. This was our agreement. But what I feel for you has nothing to do with contracts or payments. I hope Tuesday is the first of many dates. If not, know that this weekend meant more to me than I can express. You changed my life, Ariel Sutton. Thank you for that. Ariel sat on her worn couch, holding the check and the note, and cried. Happy tears, confused tears, hopeful tears. She had no idea what the future held. But for the first time in longer than she could remember, she believed the future might actually be good. The days between Sunday and Tuesday felt both endless and too short. Ariel deposited the check, paid her overdue rent, settled her most urgent bills, and finally exhaled. The financial panic that had been her constant companion for months began to ease. But another kind of panic replaced it. What if Tuesday's date was awkward? What if the connection they'd felt at the wedding didn't translate to real life? What if Gideon realized he'd made a mistake? Tuesday arrived too quickly. Ariel changed outfits 4 times, finally settling on a simple blue dress that made her feel confident. At exactly 7 o'clock, her buzzer rang. It's me, Gideon's voice came through the intercom. 5th floor. No elevator. Hope you're ready for stairs. She heard him laugh. I'll manage. A few minutes later he knocked. Ariel opened the door to find him slightly winded but smiling. He wore dark jeans and a green shirt, the same casual outfit from their first coffee meeting. He held a bouquet of sunflowers. These reminded me of you, he said, offering them. Bright and beautiful. That's incredibly cheesy, Ariel said, but she was smiling as she took them. I'm new to this. The real dating thing. Bear with me. She put the flowers in a glass of water, grabbed her purse, and they headed out. As they walked down the stairs, Gideon looked around at her building with genuine interest. How long have you lived here? 3 years. It's not much, but it's mine. Or it will be once I finish paying off this month's rent. It's nice. Feels like home. They went to a small Italian restaurant in her neighborhood, nothing fancy but known for good food. Over pasta and wine they talked. Really talked, without the pressure of maintaining a facade or worrying about family watching. Tell me about your business dreams, Gideon said. You mentioned wanting to start your own event planning company. What would that look like? Ariel described her vision. Small at first, focusing on weddings and celebrations. Building a reputation for personal service and creative design. Eventually growing to handle larger corporate events, but never losing the personal touch. You light up when you talk about it, Gideon observed. The way your eyes get bright, your hands move. You're passionate about this. I am. Events are about creating memories. Perfect moments that people carry with them forever. I want to be part of that. You should do it. Start the company. It takes money. Equipment, marketing, time to build a client base. I can't afford to quit my jobs right now. What if you had funding? A business loan or an investor? Ariel set down her fork. Gideon, if you're about to offer me money, I'm offering business advice. If you had the capital, would you do it? Would you take the leap? I don't know. Maybe. It's scary to put everything on the line for a dream. It is. But it's scarier to never try. I started Blackwell Industries with almost nothing. Just an idea and determination. It nearly failed a dozen times. But I kept going because I believed in what I was building. You could do the same. You had advantages I don't have. Education, connections, no dependence. True. But you have something I didn't. You understand people. You make them feel valued, seen. That's not something you can learn. That's a gift. The compliment warmed Ariel from the inside. They talked through dessert, sharing stories from their childhoods, laughing at silly memories. It felt easy. Natural. Like they'd been doing this for years instead of days. Can I ask you something? Ariel said as they walked back to her apartment. Why did you really hire me? You said it was because I was real, genuine. But there had to be more to it. Gideon was quiet for a moment. When I saw you at the coffee shop before I approached you about the arrangement, I watched you for an hour. You were juggling orders, dealing with difficult customers, clearly exhausted. But you never lost your patience. Never stopped being kind. There was one moment a little kid spilled juice everywhere and instead of being annoyed you helped clean it up and made the kid laugh. You turned a potential meltdown into a game. I remember that day. The kid's mom was so stressed. You made her day better. And I thought that's who I need. Someone who genuinely cares about people, who makes situations better just by being present. I needed my family to believe I'd found someone special. And you are special, Ariel. That wasn't acting. That was just you. They reached her building. Ariel didn't want the night to end. Do you want to come up? She asked. I have coffee. It's nothing fancy, but I'd love to. They climbed the 5 flights, Ariel apologizing for the stairs again. In her small apartment, she made coffee while Gideon looked at the photos on her walls. Pictures of her mother, now passed. Friends from college. Event designs she'd done, printed and framed. Your mom? He asked, pointing to a photo of a beautiful woman with Ariel's smile. Yeah. She died 2 years ago. Cancer. The medical bills are part of why I'm so behind financially. I'm sorry. That must have been hard. It was. But she made me promise to keep chasing my dreams. To not give up because things got difficult. Some days, that promise is the only thing that keeps me going. They sat on her small couch with their coffee, closer than necessary. Ariel felt hyper-aware of every point where they touched. His shoulder against hers. Their knees barely brushing. I'm terrified, Ariel admitted suddenly. Of this. Of us. Feels too good to be true. Like any moment it's going to fall apart. I'm terrified too, Gideon said. I haven't dated anyone seriously in years. I don't know how to do this. But I want to learn. With you. What if we're just caught up in the emotion of the weekend? What if this fades when reality sets in? Then we deal with it. But Ariel, I don't think this is going to fade. I think this is real. I think it's been real from the moment you walked into my office looking nervous but determined. I think I started falling for you then, I just didn't recognize it. That's impossible. You barely knew me. I knew enough. I knew you were someone who'd taken 3 jobs to stay afloat instead of giving up. Someone who kept showing up even when things were impossibly hard. That's courage. That's strength. And it's rare. Ariel turned to face him fully. Gideon, if we do this, if we try for real, I need you to know something. I'm not a project. I'm not someone you need to fix or save. I can take care of myself. I know that. But I'm also not going to pretend I don't need help sometimes. I do. Everyone does. So if you offer me something, whether it's advice or support or even money, I need to be able to accept it without feeling like I owe you. Can you understand that? Yes. And in return, I need you to understand that I'm going to mess this up sometimes. I'm going to work too much, forget to call, get too focused on business. I'm not good at relationships. But I want to be. For you. Deal. They sealed it with a kiss. Gentle at first, then deeper. When they finally pulled apart, both were smiling. I should go, Gideon said reluctantly. It's late. You have work in the morning. I do. 3 jobs, remember? About that. He stood, pulling her up with him. I have a proposition. A real business proposition, not a fake girlfriend situation. I'm listening. Blackwell Industries hosts a lot of events. Product launches, client dinners, corporate celebrations. We currently use an outside firm for coordination. What if we used you instead? Freelance basis, competitive rates. You'd have steady work and income while you build your client base. Ariel's heart raced. Gideon, I can't take handouts. It's not a handout. It's a business opportunity. If you're not good at it, I'll fire you. But I know you will be good at it. Excellent, actually. What do you say? I say yes. And thank you. Really? Don't thank me. Just do good work. He kissed her again at the door, then left. Ariel stood in her apartment, touched her lips and laughed. This was insane. All of it. But it felt right. The next 3 months were a whirlwind. Ariel coordinated her first event for Blackwell Industries, a product launch that went flawlessly. Then a second event. A third. Word spread about her work. Other companies started requesting her services. She quit 2 of her 3 jobs, then finally quit the coffee shop too. She and Gideon dated. Real dates. Dinners, movies, walks in the park. Meeting each other's friends. Learning each other's quirks and habits. It wasn't always perfect. They had disagreements about work-life balance and communication. But they talked through them, learning as they went. 4 months after the wedding, Ariel officially launched Sutton Events. Her first major client outside of Blackwell Industries was a high-profile couple planning a summer wedding. The bride had heard about Ariel through Rachel, who'd been enthusiastically recommending her to everyone. 5 months in, Gideon asked Ariel to move in with him. She said no initially, wanting to maintain some independence. But eventually, the practical advantages and the desire to spend more time together won out. She moved into his penthouse apartment, bringing her small collection of belongings and making the sterile space feel like home. 6 months after the wedding, Rachel announced she was pregnant. The family gathered at the Vineyard estate to celebrate. Gideon and Ariel drove up together, this time as a real couple, no pretense needed. Ready to face everyone again? Gideon asked as they pulled into the familiar driveway. Ready as I'll ever be. But this time was different. No secrets, no lies. Just 2 people who'd found each other in the strangest way possible and made it work. The celebration was joyful. Rachel was radiant, Thomas proud, Patricia delighted at the prospect of a great niece or nephew. When Rachel announced they were naming Patricia as godmother, the older woman actually teared up. And Ariel, Rachel said, turning to her, I'd like you to plan the baby shower. If you're willing. I trust you to make it perfect. I'd be honored. Later, standing on the same terrace where they'd first met the family, Ariel and Gideon looked out at the vineyards. A lot has changed, Ariel observed. Everything has changed. Because of you. Because of us. We did this together. Gideon turned to face her, taking both her hands. Ariel Sutton, 6 months ago I hired you to play a role. You ended up becoming the most important person in my life. You've made me happier than I knew was possible. You've taught me that being vulnerable isn't weak, it's brave. You've shown me what real love looks like. Gideon. Let me finish. I know we've only been together a short time. I know some people would say it's too soon. But I also know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. So, Ariel, will you marry me? He pulled out a ring box, opening it to reveal a beautiful diamond that caught the sunlight. Ariel's breath caught. You're serious. Completely serious. I love you. I want to build a life with you. A real one, not a pretend one. What do you say? Ariel thought about everything that had led to this moment. The eviction notice, the desperate email, the weekend of pretending. How it had all transformed into something real and beautiful and true. Yes, she said, smiling through happy tears. Yes, I'll marry you. He slid the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a kiss. Behind them, from inside the house, they heard Rachel squeal with delight. Apparently, she'd been watching. Rachel burst onto the terrace, Thomas and Patricia right behind her. You're getting married? We're getting married, Ariel confirmed. Rachel hugged them both, crying happy tears. This is perfect. You two are perfect. I'm so happy I could burst. Patricia embraced them as well, her smile genuine and warm. Welcome to the family officially this time. I'm glad my nephew finally found someone who makes him happy. She makes me very happy, Gideon agreed, his arm around Ariel's waist. Thomas shook Gideon's hand, grinning. Welcome to married life, man. It's the best decision you'll ever make. The rest of the evening was celebration. Toasts and laughter and plans for the future. Rachel immediately started offering wedding planning advice, which made everyone laugh since Ariel was literally a professional event planner. As the sun set over the vineyards, painting everything gold and pink, Ariel stood beside Gideon and marveled at how life could change. 6 months ago, she'd been drowning in debt and desperation. Now she had a thriving business, a man who loved her, and a family who'd welcomed her with open arms. What are you thinking? Gideon asked softly. That I took a huge risk accepting your offer. But it turned out to be the best decision of my life. Mine too. I thought I was hiring someone to play a part. Instead I found my partner. My equal. My home. That's very romantic for someone who said they weren't good at relationships. I have a good teacher. He kissed her forehead. I love you, Ariel. Thank you for taking a chance on me. Thank you for seeing me. Really seeing me. They stood together as the stars came out, surrounded by family and love and the promise of a beautiful future. What had started as a contract had become something neither had expected but both had needed. Real love, built on honesty, vulnerability, and the courage to believe that sometimes, the best things in life come from taking a leap of faith. And as Ariel looked at the ring on her finger, then at the man beside her, she knew with absolute certainty that this was just the beginning. Their story had started with pretending, but it would continue with the most honest, genuine love either of them had ever known. 6 months later, they were married in the same vineyard where they'd first played their parts. But this time, every word, every vow, every promise was completely real. Rachel and Thomas stood as attendants, their baby daughter sleeping peacefully in Patricia's arms. The celebration was joyful and perfect, filled with the same love that had first brought them together. And when Gideon and Ariel danced under the stars, surrounded by family and friends, they both knew they'd found something rare and precious. A love that had started as fiction but had become the truest thing in their lives. The contract that had brought them together was long gone, replaced by wedding vows and a future full of possibilities. But Ariel kept that first email from Gideon, the one offering her $35,000 for 3 days of pretending. It reminded her that sometimes, the most beautiful stories begin in the most unexpected ways. And that taking a chance, even when you're scared, even when it seems impossible, can lead to the greatest happiness you've ever known.